Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's special education meeting. We're going to begin 10:18 tonight at 5:33 p.m. I realized last time we didn't review the minutes. Did anyone get a chance to review the minutes from last time? Or should I say you didn't? I think, well, you're going to say something, Erica?
I wasn't on the call last time, so I didn't review the minutes from the previous call, but I can do that for next time.
Okay, I think we'll do it for next time.
Okay.
And move on. And then what we'll do is go straight into the presentations. And I will turn it over first to Mr. Pennington to start us off and do any introduction.
All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight, Bridget Adams, our Executive Director of Specialized Learning, is going to share a little bit about our enrollment numbers. She's going to share a little bit about our programs, and if there's time, talk a little bit more about CT SEDS, which has been one of the biggest transitional pieces for this school year. So without further ado, I will turn the floor over to Mrs. Adams and she can begin.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to gather again together, and I'm really excited to share some information, really a snapshot of enrollment of as of yesterday, and also we'll take a look at some celebrations, some upcoming events that are really important in our community. And then we'll talk a bit about how we're acknowledging the needs of our staff, which of course is a through line to the needs of our young people. And given the time that we have available, I have a sample of a training that we can share, or you can certainly just view that on your own. What I would certainly welcome as we are talking this evening, I've prepared a slide deck to guide our conversation, but this doesn't need to be a one-woman show. And so I welcome questions. If questions come in from beyond the folks whose faces we see right now, other people joining us from our community, please feel free to interrupt with questions. Let's just engage in a meaningful conversation. As I mentioned the last time we were together, I've been out of the Zoom world for a while, and so please bear with me. At this point, can you see my very colorful desktop? And now perhaps a welcome slide. Is that what everybody's able to view?
Yes.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm working on a rather large screen, so if I'm not making eye contact with you, I apologize. I'm going to do my best to make all of these screens work. So thank you again, everyone, for coming together this evening. Here is a snapshot of our moment in time. This is our information that we have to share, given the number of individuals who are registered and enrolled in our district, and the number of individuals who have IEPs. This is an interesting number because it's not entirely inclusive of every young person. It doesn't include students in the total count who, preview, are attending out of district placements or who are perhaps enrolled at a magnet or a charter school. In a more formal presentation, I will ensure that those numbers are all included and designated. What I think is important to note, however, is our current prevalence rate. And again, this is our moment in time, which is Monday, October 17th. The percentage of individuals with IEPs in our district is at 15.91%. The most recent prevalence rate that we have for the state was from last school year, and we see that that's 16.3. So we are where we would expect to be. What I've then done is taken this enrollment to share some numbers with you. I hope that these are valuable pieces of information. I do see, Jen, I'm sorry if they're really small. I'm so sorry.
No, I have old eyes. I'm sorry. That's my fault, not yours. I can see it just fine. I'm sorry.
And as do I. So what I view is this very large screen that I use to accommodate myself, but know that I will share the full slide deck with everyone so that you can zoom at your leisure. And so what we can do is just kind of summarize this. I won't read point by point, but on the left of your screen, you'll see total enrollment by grade. And each blue line by grade shows us on the horizontal axis the number of individuals with IEPs in those grade levels. At any point, ask me to flip back and forth. I'm happy to do that. As we move forward, the next 3 slides, or 4, I've taken those numbers, and this way we can look to see the numbers of individuals with IEPs at each school. This doesn't include anyone who perhaps is in referral process, because of course they don't yet or may not have an IEP. And so I'm just pausing for a moment so you can digest. And I'll move on to middle schools unless anybody would like me to hold for a moment. Here is our enrollment at middle schools. Remember that in some of our schools, we have specific programs for groups of individuals with perhaps similar cognitive profiles, and we'll talk about those programs in a moment. There's no new news there. Here are high schools. Don't be alarmed by the first 2, they're smaller schools. And the horizontal axis on the bottom just shows the total count. I also have percentages available, and I'm happy to share those. And I'm looking forward to a presentation in the future where, in a discussion regarding equity and inclusion, we'll break down some of these numbers of individuals by categories of protected class, perhaps gender, race, access to free lunch, and other really important information related to that. So I didn't want to overwhelm us this evening with too much information. So we'll be able to piece these presentations together for a full picture. But I hope that what this gives us in the fall is a sense of where we are. Here in this slide, you see the NECC enrollment, as well as our next steps in Project Search. With next steps in Project Search, every individual has an IEP in their enrollment in these transition programs. And something significant to notice is NECC, where we currently have 101 young people in the AM and PM and full day programs combined, with 34 individuals counted who are those without an IEP, or sometimes we refer to as typical peers. One of my initiatives and the department's initiatives is to consider ways to increase enrollment at NECC. And I look forward to input from the community and thoughts as we look for ways to do that. Should I pause for any questions or thoughts?
I just want to say, Bridget, thank you for including NECC and the 2 transition programs in the district. That's very much appreciated, because I think that's an important part of our community.
Absolutely. And there's so much information here to unpack. We know that NECC is perhaps one of the greatest doors into Norwalk Public Schools from birth to 3, but also for our young people. We know that we have early childhood classes and access throughout the district. But really, this is the entry to school. And for so many families, I had the opportunity to meet with the PTA one evening in September for NECC. And this is the moment where families begin to learn in many cases about special education, not just school, which is overwhelming enough for a parent sending their young person to school, but also the special education process. So I'm going to continue to meet with families there in some workshop sessions, just to talk about the whole concept of welcome to special education. So that's
And,
exciting.
I agree with you. I think we do need to get our typical enrollment up at NECC, because I think with those 3 and 4-year-olds, we all know earlier intervention is the best for these kids. And most of our little friends, I mean, not even, SPED kids sometimes have a hard time with social interaction. And so I think we need to get those typical kids in. And I think it also breeds acceptance. Like, if you know these kids at a young age, it's not any different as you move into elementary school. So I think that's a great initiative to get more, as we call them, typicals into our NECC. I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely. And we know that in Norwalk, we have such a core belief in inclusion, and that special education is not a place. And I'm really thoughtful that NECC not become a special education place, but rather a learning space for everyone. I've had some conversations with families since my roundtables where we've talked about opportunities that might exist to bring in book study, authors, individuals who can help that conversation, not only for our young people, but for our teachers and for our families, about acceptance and how we can broaden the conversation at every developmental level, from tiny human at NECC through grandparents and everybody in between, about accepting everyone as who they are and where they are. So that's really exciting work. Deirdre McKinnon, who is here with us this evening, and I have spent a good amount of time looking quite closely at our state of placement beyond our school buildings here in district. We've looked at the numbers of individuals who are currently placed in out of district schools, either state approved private schools or our REST partners at CES, CURRIC in some instances, and ACEs. And we're looking at so many pieces of information and data related to those individuals. We know that there are at times circumstances where a young person needs what we don't have. Certainly in my short time here, diving deeply into this information, I have hope that there are some students who would benefit more from services here in district. And it is evident that there are some young people who are making gains and progress in their placement. So we have a full spectrum of circumstance here. Of our young people, we have 2 we say aging out, probably need a better phrase for that. These are young people who will be 22 this year. We have 2 individuals who may possibly return to district this year. And I list that there because it's a strong possibility. And we have 9 individuals who are in transition programs. And certainly, without going into much detail, what we know is that our Next Steps program and our Project Search programs are incredible. And we want to be sure that we've offered those programs to these folks. Not just these 9, but young people who are in 12th grade now, may be individuals who haven't been in district for a long time and aren't aware of the opportunities that exist. We're very excited that we have 3 districts in our close physical proximity who are seeking to place young people here in that program. And that is so incredibly exciting, especially as we watch the expansion of Project Search. It was just at the community college when I was here a few years ago, and now we know that we're at the hospital as well. So it's exciting to think that we have some community outreach. Settlements have been a pretty significant circumstance that has impacted Norwalk, and I think that in a separate conversation, oh, Jen, I see that your hand is up.
Yeah, whenever you were finished, I'm sorry. I was wondering the OOD placements, does that include like the Rogers and the AITE kids or no?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No. That's a great question, and that certainly is additional information that I could have included this evening and certainly will in the future. These are individuals who in PPT, the team determined this was the most appropriate placement. Sometimes those young people are placed, it's determined early on in their school career, and we need to at times consider the appropriateness of fit. It may not mean that a young person is appropriate in a current program that we have in district, but we need to ensure that we are appropriately placing at all times and not just renewing for the sake of renewing. And then all of our students who are attending schools beyond the Norwalk boundaries through parent choice, we support their services and their IEP programs where appropriate, but that's a different slide for another evening. And I think it might be a great topic to dive much more deeply into, because as I was mentioning, the settlement conversation is, I think, larger than this evening. There is a circumstance that we are experiencing where we have 14 active settlements, 7 are pending. 8 of either the 14 or 7 are ending this year. And so to clarify settlement and the difference from settlement to out of district placement, a settlement also might include an agreement. A settlement is a result of a due process and most often mediation, where the district and the family come together with a mediator and come to an agreement because there was some disagreement at one time. I've shared in this forum and in other spaces since I've arrived that if I had to identify my first priority, it's to, in all ways, even when we're in mediation or due process or settling, to repair harm that has occurred between district and family. No matter the circumstance, we are educating young people and we are doing it together. And if the school, district, and the family are at odds, we're not our best selves for young people. And so I really am motivated to build some bridges, repair any harm, and create a space of collaboration for all of us. I mentioned agreements. Sometimes we come to agreement with family beyond or before or without due process. We simply acknowledge that there is a need for an agreement beyond the PPT table. And each of these numbers comes with an associated cost. So it's something we look very carefully on, because when we add up this number, often what I think is, with so much great work in district and the potential for greater work in district, how could we adjust those dollars to benefit all students? And again, I feel like I've mentioned before that when I talk, it's probably a bingo game out there somewhere because I'm saying a lot of the same things over and over again. But I feel very, very strongly that when we're identifying a concern or a need for one person, for one young person, that we're looking at the whole. A couple of examples of how I put that belief into practice since I started a couple months ago. It seems like I've been here for quite some time. It was brought to my attention that there was a concern related to makeup services at one of our schools. The family requested that those services be delivered by an outside provider. I heard their concern and thanked them for bringing it to my attention. And we created a space for all the young people on that caseload to receive the same offer of makeup services. That actually occurred in 2 places. And so it's exciting, you know, when we know that sometimes folks have the means or even the time, right? It's not even means. Sometimes folks don't have the time to call because they're working or they're with their other children. But when one parent can do that, I try to seek for their child to be ambassador for others and look for ways to do that.
Bridget, can you speak to how the district is proactively getting in front of missed time before it spirals?
Yes, absolutely. And this is actually a circumstance that is one that is not unique to Norwalk. This was a great deal of my work in my former district before arriving, especially in the advent of vacancies resulting from COVID. We keep a running record of every vacancy or absence. So perhaps not an individual sick day, but if a teacher is out on an extended medical leave, which we know is happening for so many reasons, and we can name, in the interest of, we're not talking about any individual, but COVID hits us. If a teacher's out for 5 or 10 days, that's 5 or 10 days of missed service. So we're keeping account of that. We're keeping account of any leave that someone might need to take for any reason. We're taking account of those vacancies. And each week I review with each of the special ed administrators what those leaves are and who the caseloads are that are associated and the numbers of hours. And then we look for ways to try to avoid the need for makeup, but rather deliver the services in a timely manner. And so by having those weekly sessions, it's helpful in staying on top of that. Rob, did you want to jump in?
I did.
Oh,
I wanted to jump in because one of the big conversations that we had as a team and I think is important is in some instances, especially with the long-term subs, people are not taking those positions. So like you're able to recruit for your certified staff, but if someone goes out on a leave, it's even more challenging. And so one of the things that we have really tried to do is partner with agencies. I'm going to say it this way, like there is more of an upfront cost, but I think that we're saving money in the long run because we're not missing an exorbitant amount of hours that you could be missing. And so like partnering with we have so many different partners. Constellations is one, Rehab Associates is another. We're able to, bring in a contract that would support for so many weeks of instruction. And yes, they cost money, but I think it's so much more important to try and avoid, to the best extent possible, exorbitant amount of makeup hours, because I find that to be I think it throws off the student, which is the most important piece, but then you're making up the hours or you're having other things on the back end to make up for that experience. And so I just think as much as we can get out in front of it is beneficial versus trying to make up all these hours on the back end.
thank you. Are there any other questions or is there discussion to be had before we move forward? No? So human condition, right? Sometimes we don't finish our homework in time. What I have prepared here together with Deirdre is the numbers of individuals who are engaged in the programs throughout the district. And of course, what jumps out at me immediately is that I was remiss in adding the numbers for Ponus and the final count for Pine, but I have them, so I'll tell you them. So each of the programs is listed with the total number of individuals who is part of the program. These are individuals with IEPs. So there are typical peers who may be part of a program or included in the program. But because we're looking at our young people with IEPs, I wanted to focus on those numbers. So the slide breaks down the location and then the number of individuals at each grade level or cohort. And Pine, there are 10 young people at Ponus for a total of 31. And I will edit the slide, of course, before sharing it with you. Go ahead, Jen.
What happened to the literacy program 1 through 4? Or 3 through 4? Were we gonna start that? Did it never get taken off? And was it Narrowmac 3, 4, or 5 at one point, or are we slowly trying to get rid of that program?
I'm not trying to get rid of it, that's for sure. The program if I understand correctly, and Deirdre and Rob, please, as I'm coming in and learning, I kind of get to test my knowledge when questions are asked, so I appreciate it. The program followed the individuals who were identified as appropriate in the program, and then circumstances of enrollment can impact where the program lands. And so as we look toward the future, we're looking for places and spaces where it's most appropriate for that to occur in Portal. Deirdre, do you have more to add to that, or Rob?
So that program was for grades 4 and 5, but it just does not have any grade 4 right now. So there are only grade 5 right now in the program. So there are 7 right now
In grade 5.
in grade 5. Yep.
And I just want to say that our plan is to open up a second literacy academy class at Cranberry. So just so that, because it is something that we are looking to support our students, and we have had some really positive successes from the Narrowmac program and West Rocks program. And so when that happens, we want to be able to support even more students, because it's one of those, I forget the movie, but if you build it, they will come. And I think that the best that we can support our students, and building that program at Cranberry is going to allow us to have now service more students as needed.
Will it be
Rob-
1 through 5 at Cranberry?
No,
Or we don't know about grades yet?
this program, when it was developed, is really like a 3, 4, 5 program.
Got it.
So it would really not start until 3rd grade.
Okay.
And Rob, is a Cranberry a product of where you're seeing the need, just because you'll end up having 2 on the same side of town?
No, so a couple reasons. Number one is that they had space to be able to bring in this additional program. They did not have a specialized learning program in their building, and the principal was open to bringing this to her staff and support. So that was really our buildings have different schools have different programs and different space needs, and so it just worked out that was a program, or that was a school that did not have a specialized program, and the principal was open to bringing this program to her building.
Okay.
It's a nice baseball reference, Rob. It's Field of Dreams. Thank you, in honor of the Yankees winning tonight. So we'd like to celebrate Dr. Martinez. You may have seen some social media posts. I think that he is being celebrated on the front page of our Norwalk Public Schools website. He was named the Latino Administrator of the Year by Alice. And so he actually had traveled to the workshop, the conference that occurred in San Juan about 2 weeks ago, and was awarded this really prestigious honor, having been identified by Miguel Cardona, our Secretary of Education. So this is an incredibly exciting time, and the Callis Gala occurs in the spring, and it's something I always hope to get to and haven't, but this year I do look to celebrate Jim with a table. So if folks are interested in heading up, it's usually Hartford Way in a fancy gown. If there's some celebration, the department will be planning that field trip. So we're really excited for him. The link in this slide will take you to the website where there's a press release about his award. So certainly excited to celebrate that. Given that we have the opportunity to come together each month, I hope to highlight some of the big events that are occurring. Certainly to bring you awareness if you don't already know, but also to share with the folks who are listening. To pretty exciting opportunities is a support group for Hispanic language speaking families that will be led and supported by our parent ombudswoman person, Violet Reyes. You see there are a series of 4 groups and the topics for each of those groups. These will be occurring at our, it indicates on Zoom. I think they may also be hybrid with some sessions at the Family Center occurring simultaneously. So it's really an exciting opportunity. And tomorrow evening, we are hosting and facilitating our annual transition fair. So if you're around, about 6 to 8, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening. And
Hey, Bridget, how is this, these two things being communicated with families?
yeah, so it's such a great question too, because I prepared 2 parent workshops, one in September and one in October, and nobody came to my parties. So I've been really thoughtful about marketing. I'm actually going to shift from an in-person delivery to a hybrid where folks can come in person, but I'll also have the Zoom option. And we're rethinking our marketing strategies. So each of these is on the website. I know the transition fair was set in a blast. Groups were also recently sent through school messenger. We're working with our communications department to kind of increase our marketing strategies. There has been some social media sharing, but I think that we certainly do need to increase the way we get in touch. I know that the invitation for the roundtables with me at the beginning of the year was incredibly successful with an email, thank you, Rob, that went out to every family of a young person with an IEP. And I think in some cases, for example, one of the workshops that Deirdre and I prepared was to talk about the initial referral process. So we of course want that to go to everyone, not just people who are already in the world of IEP. So we are open and ready to hear any thoughts and ideas on getting it.
Well, that was, I was wondering, I know that each elementary school now has a parent coordinator who is bilingual. And also I know at our school at Narragansett, proud of it, that our MLL teacher is one of the 3 is very, very involved. Do they have access to both of these and are they sharing it?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
In fact, we just had a conversation about them this week and they will have a gathering bi-weekly maybe. And so Deirdre and I are going to insert ourselves into those conversations where we ask that this information be shared. Sneaky note, this is part of my marketing strategy, sharing it with you this evening. But we're certainly open to every idea. So thank you for bringing them up, Jen. That's great.
And I also want to say, when you did that parent in September, and I signed up, I appreciate the reminders, to be honest. I thought that was a great idea. Like I signed up online and then I got a reminder like 2 weeks ahead of it and a week ahead of it. And for me, and I think for a lot of parents, that was very helpful. So I appreciate those reminders.
Great.
Yeah, I was going to say, I will continue to advocate for use of SMS pushes. It's really breaks through for me, and my personal inbox and even the backpack are just stuffed. So any reminders I can get via SMS are very helpful for me personally.
That's so good to know. I'm the same way. I'll read a text usually above and beyond everything else.
Yeah.
Excellent. I wanted to take a few moments to talk about the professional learning. I think development might be an antiquated word, and I should probably shift to learning, and we'll certainly do that. I love how dedicated this district is to increasing the capacity of staff and the spaces that are created for that to happen. In my conversations with our department, with administrators, with teachers, with their representation in union discussions about what teachers need, we thought about the win time for students and thought it would be appropriate to replicate it in a parallel process for adults and really listen to and hear and give folks what they need. And we're a bit worried about the impact of the shift from IEP Direct to CT SEDS on the stress level of everyone. It's been a big undertaking. This is not Norwalk specific. You may be hearing about this within and throughout the entire state. But I think that what we are doing a great job of is handling it with grace and humor and ease. As stressful as it can be, I think that we've started to create this climate of it's okay. We're learning this together. There are no experts. There actually is no one to call because everybody is learning this together, including the developers of the program. And we are getting through it. So through professional learning, we've asked, what do you need? And then we've responded as best we can, and we'll continue to improve that practice. So what I'm highlighting here is October professional learning with a highlight of, or a teaser for November, and the places and the groups of people for whom we are providing that professional learning space. This professional learning plan actually extends back to August and before I was here. And I've been working to keep all of our professional learning offerings in one running record so that we have a historical diary and in order to reflect on our process this year, given this shift. The picture in the bottom right gives you a sample of what each day looks like. This particular snapshot was for the October 3rd department meeting. We received the information on Friday that teachers were really asking for drop-in support and updates from what was happening with the program. So our plan for the 3rd, we just quickly pivoted and shifted and offered these 4 opportunities for groups of people based on what they need. And we did this in 4 sessions based on the dismissal time and those times allocated for a department meeting. On the 4th and today, the 18th, we had our second step into CT SEDS for administrators. We focused specifically on getting in, logging in, and staying logged in, and navigating the platform as an administrator, and how that looks different from the navigation of a teacher or a district leader. And then the administrator responsibility that is associated with entering restraint and seclusion information for the state. The whole process has changed, and it's actually quite more user-friendlier than it has been. And so yesterday we offered several sessions, and this is specific to specialized learning, but Rob could certainly elaborate on how professional learning impacted the whole district. Everyone was engaged in a learning opportunity yesterday. The first in this list is the quality IEP training that I mentioned in our last conversation together here in this forum, where every special educator and related service provider in the state of Connecticut goes through this training. And so we offered the first of 2 6-hour sessions for all of our new to Norwalk teachers or new to Norwalk who weren't trained in another district, as well as those who didn't have the opportunity in the spring. At the culmination of that, everyone will come back together for the last 2 modules of that training. That because the folks who were trained in the spring didn't have that last component. So we look forward to that. And you can see the other topics that everyone else had the opportunity to join and engage. We offered many of these twice so that every developmental level, every teacher at each developmental level could engage. And we had training for paraeducators as well. I don't think this is a succinct list. There are definitely quite a few more.
Yeah, I'm going to add a couple just because I think it's important.
Please.
our paras, gen eds, specialized learning, they participated in trauma-informed care training as well, which is something that we have trained all of our certified staff members, but they would happen at faculty meetings when our non-certified staff would leave for the day. So we felt it was really important to provide them with that training as well. And we are constantly collecting feedback so that we can continue to grow. One of the biggest trainings that our paras are asking for is CPR. So we had NECC had their early childhood CPR, which is a requirement of early childhood, but we also had another 50 para educators who were trained in CPR. And in our next PD, we're going to continue with that training as well. The other piece was just our specialized learning paras that ride the bus. We wanted them to be able to get a training that would be beneficial as they ride the bus, because we want to support our students from door to door. And so that's just really important, because a para may become a 1B, which means they ride the bus, but what type of training or support have they had in providing that type of transportation? So we had a lot of different offerings. We built in options for our paras, like choice. What do you feel you need more of? So we had offerings in Google, and we had offerings in SEL, and we had CPI, which is restraint training. And so our goal is to have all of our para educators trained in CPI. And it's a moving target, because that certification only lasts for 18 months, and then you don't have that certification anymore. So every professional development, we're training new paras to support them to have that training. And I think that our next big November, I think, as Bridget alluded to, is that our staff members will be getting a dyslexia overview provided every staff member, or every certified staff member in the district, on November 8th. So that's something that we're really excited about, just to be able to provide that overview for all staff members.
Rob, I think it would be great if you did a social push that has, what happens during professional development day, and just like this bulleted list that's very concise, because sometimes we get feedback that there's too many professional development days, especially in the beginning of the year. And I think this helps validate, why it's so important that it happens early on in the year.
Absolutely.
That's a really good idea, Erica.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
Just to
because I mean,
substantiate
these
that.
are things that teachers are going to carry and paras are going to carry with them throughout the rest of the year. If you offered this training in May, you're not getting you're getting towards the end of the year. And yes, professional development happens in the summer and it happens throughout the year. But really, that beginning of the year push is we have one day in August, one in October, and one in November. And then this year we have one in February as well. But after that, it's not, I mean, we really are trying to support our teachers, our paras, all staff members to continue to learn and grow. And we're doing that by providing different options, by providing different choices, because that is something that we keep hearing is, can we have choice into what do we feel that we need? And that's been a focus of ours, as how can we provide more choice? I think with our specialized learning staff, it's a little more challenging this year, just because CT SEDS is so comprehensive that a lot of our PD, and we're lucky that it's at the beginning of the year, because all of this work that they're getting trained in now is supporting them as we make that transition from IEP Direct to CT SEDS. But I like that idea of creating some type of media or that just highlights what professional learning looks like in Norwalk Public Schools.
And I would keep it, like I said, just as concise as you've done here. This bulleted list very easy to digest.
All right. Great idea, Erica. Thank
Mhm.
you.
All right. So just very briefly, this is the objective of the quality IEP development staff training that folks are going through. Separate from technical training for how to use CT-SEDS is this opportunity that the state identified as the perfect time to bring folks, whether they're in their first months of their time as special educators or their 24th year or more, to really have the space to consider what educational benefit is when we're developing a program for young people through PPT. And so this training uses the new IEP as the vehicle to teach the skills. Often we talk about with young people that the content can at times be whatever a person is interested in, but it's the skills that we need to have the way in, right? So we're using the new IEP as that content, that vehicle to drive the skill instruction, and have this space to really address what the state saw as systemic compliance concerns. I'll just highlight one piece that's really, really important. I think that Norwalk certainly leads in many ways, but founding discussions in data and that progress monitoring. So we're taking this training with staff as a springboard for really shoring up how we collect data, how we progress monitor, and then how we talk about what students need grounded in that data. And so it's an exciting time. It's an overwhelming time, but I think the opportunity is perfect for us to move forward together in compliance and support of young people. And so given the hours, I offer this to you when you have this slide deck. These are live. There's a live link here in the title. It will bring you to, can you see the website now? Yeah. And with clicking play, we can listen through the video that replicates the training that teachers have gone through. Now, the teachers have a 12 to 14 hour training. For families, it's about 90 minutes. But this is a really nice sampling of the most important elements of IEP development. I had thought to perhaps share a portion of it tonight for your own professional learning opportunity, but I think given the time, I'll ensure that you have that link, and at any point you can watch the entire module. It's also on the state IEP website. You Google quality IEP parent module, it will pop right up. And this is something that we're sharing with families both in English and Spanish as we work together to bring ourselves into the new IEP. And these are the same resources that I shared in our first session, and I'll continue to add to them as they are published and relate to this process. And with that, that's about all I have this evening. I think it's probably quite a lot, quite enough. But I would love to hear from you and open the floor for any conversation. Should have heard just as soon as I can figure out how to stop sharing to bring us back to center.
So I do have a question.
Sure.
Bridget and Deirdre, don't hate me after this. I'm sorry.
Oh.
So with the training, and you said it was 12 to 14 hours, and listen, it is a big change from our old IEP to our new IEP. So I get it. I mean, I don't even know if you admin are like well-versed. I mean, I'm sure you are, but it's a big switch even from the landscape to a portrait view. That is messing me up. But how do teachers I know, Bridget, I know, I'm like the worst. That's like my biggest pet peeve. How are the teachers handling going from the old to the new and the training? And are they like in big groups? Are they in small groups? I just worry about them learning new, servicing our kids, right? And the burnout, I guess, is what my biggest concern is. And just that they understand it, because I know, sure, they're going to get questions from parents on where are the goals even on this brand new IEP, right? Because usually you could find them, but some parents might not. So like, are the SPED teachers feeling comfortable with this new program, and are they feeling like supported that they're okay, it's going to be well maintained and like easy to tell other teachers about it or other parents?
So Jen has worked with me in other places and spaces, so she knows, and I've shared, you get full transparency with me, right? We are not well versed. None of us are.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a lot in COVID about building the plane as we flew it. We're not entirely clear on what the building model plans are here. However, to that end, are teachers stressed? Yeah. Are they overwhelmed? Yeah. And I think that's true in all regard, from every teacher through us up to at the state level. I hope, it's my intent that they feel supported. I have asked that each of the special education administrators working with their smaller groups at the school level or even in their cohort, that the constant refrain is that this is okay and we're going to get through it. We're doing our best not to ask too much. To your point about the training, and is shifting and training and working so much. The quality training for the majority of people occurred in the spring. It was sort of that introduction into, here's the new format. Over the course of the summer and in the fall, everybody got the technical side of things, which was not enough. And so Deirdre, with her 2 schools, is working endlessly with her groups in different spaces, either individually with the compliance monitor who's then working with that school's team, or she's working with the teams. We've learned that what folks need is to collaborate together across schools. And so we've brought them together in those spaces. A great deal of our work is, here's the situation, here's the solution. Here's the circumstance, let's work together to get to solution. We've also created a Microsoft team to become a warehouse of all of the state updates so that teachers can go there when they have the headspace and the patience to read and digest that information. Anything that is red alert, we're letting them know as soon as we can. Honestly, the red alerts are often, okay, this doesn't work.
Right.
My anxieties that I'm sure is shared by educators, I've heard it, that we keep hitting walls with the system and we can't finalize documents. So we know the district finalizes an IEP in 5 days' time. It's just not simply possible.
Yeah.
The state acknowledges there's no, the federal law doesn't care.
Right.
The system doesn't finalize in 5 days. So the state is hearing us. The state is providing district teams time and space to come together with them to ask these questions, and they're coming up with solutions. So one of them is that we know we can't finalize, but we can print in draft form.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing that and sharing that with families and saying, here's where we are. We're sorry. As soon as we can finalize, we'll get it finalized to you. But this document is real. And so there's so many ways in which we're doing all that we can to support. But this is a great time for school parents associations to come together and wrap around special educators.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, Bridget, I still appreciate your honesty. I know that's how you are, and I appreciate it. And I think it just makes us feel like, I mean, this is a crazy new program, like we said. I mean, it's not going to be easy. And even though we all saw it in the spring, it looks totally different when you have your child's information or any child's information in it. You know, you got a nice little 12 piece of paper packet that was blank, and then you get your kids, it's like 30 pages. It's like, oh, cool. Now where do we go? So I think it's like 2 different things. And I know some of our teachers are having the same pain, and especially the new technology and all that. It's just, you know, as you know, and all of you, it's a feel for the teachers who already got to go through so much, for the admins, for you guys. And it's just, how do we make it all so nice and a nice little package? And it's just going to be a long process, you know, and it's not even Norwalk, it's the state, right? And that's the other thing. But I think some parents don't get that, and that's not your fault, but it's, you know, I think we just got to educate our parents a little bit more that this is a new system by the state, not by Norwalk, and that it's going to be a huge learning curve. But, you know, of course, you guys and the teachers get the brunt of it.
We'll get there, but we'll get there together.
I know you will.
We'll
I know you guys will.
And we'll collaborate, and we'll share
Yes.
resources. Even as you're talking, I'm thinking about the time, and there's so much I want to share. A quick
Right.
look for the crosswalk, the IEP
Right.
crosswalk, puts them side
Right.
by side. But
Uh-huh.
you're giving me ideas and thoughts, and these conversations are so valuable for that reason, that already
Yeah.
I'm brainstorming, and I'll be back in touch with you, with the members of this group, so that
Yeah.
we can work together to really formulate a plan to support our staff in the support of these amazing quality IEPs that are going to meet kids' needs.
Right. And I
Great.
appreciate you and Deirdre working so hard on this stuff. So thank you guys. I know it's long days and nights and hours, so thank you so much for trying.
You know, my last question is, while you are working through the hiccups of the new system, could you put parents at ease as we close out of today's session that services don't come to a screeching halt while we're working through the paperwork delays?
No, services are the priority.
Yes.
In fact, we have said to staff, we understand the pressures of compliance. And if in any case, a teacher can't meet a compliance deadline, that the child services, the FaceTime with children, the development of relationship and progress toward goals never, ever, ever gets stopped by this system. And that I'll make those phone calls.
Okay, great.
Right.
That's where I wanted to close. It was the warm and
That's an
fuzzy.
excellent place to
Yeah,
close, because
yeah.
that, I yell that from the rooftops,
Mm.
that I would rather we know that young people are getting what they need, rather than a system tile turn green.
Mhm.
And that'll all come clear. Thank you
Thank you.
all so much
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
You.
as well.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.